Okay, welcome guys again. This is chapter 7, if I'm not mistaken, or chapter 6, and our final chapter of this Q&A with college coaches. Today we're going to be viewing the parent perspective of the recruiting process for our players. So today I invited AJ and AJ's parents to kind of give us an idea of how was the process, his recruiting process. So with further ado, I'm going to allow AJ and his parents to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their story. Go ahead, guys.
Thanks, Coach. Asa Evans, I'm AJ's dad.
You got it.
And I'm Lori, AJ's mom.
And I'm AJ.
All right. That was a great introduction.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the process. I would like to hear your input about how was the process? Do you feel that it was stressful? Do you feel that it was pretty much smooth with no problems? AJ ended up in the final, school that he wanted to with no problems. So do you feel that it was perhaps a little stressful and a roller coaster?
I feel like it was a little bit stressful because of the lateness in the boys commit to schools.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we always knew that AJ wanted to play in college, so there really wasn't a question there, but it was a matter of, timing, as Asa said. When do you have those conversations? When do you do the visits? And I know for us, like the top 3 colleges that were kind of on the list junior year changed to a completely different set senior year. So it is later with boys. And as parents, of course, we want our kids to be happy. And so, we were anxious for that decision, but then you don't want to make it too soon either because you might get a better offer. So definitely stressful.
Okay. How about the financial part? We have questions about the financial part as far as you making the final decision. So how do you feel that the financial part, what is the percentage you feel in your decision making was the financial part so much of an impact?
Honestly, it didn't really play in that much, in that we never said we have this much money, so those schools are out of the question, these schools are in. We really based it on other things, academics, a good match for AJ, obviously being a goalkeeper. And then we just figured, we would figure it out. And if we were faced with an offer where we just absolutely couldn't afford it, obviously we'd have to look at other options, but we didn't really make that a priority in our decision making.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you guys have Florida prepay?
We do not.
Okay, you didn't have Florida prepay. Okay.
I got Bright Futures.
Bright Futures. Okay.
Bright Futures did come into play a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you feel that financially, for example, would it make an impact if you would have had Florida prepay?
Sure it would have, but we didn't really look too much at that. In the whole out-of-state factor as well, again, we never said you have to go to school in Florida because of Bright Futures. Let's see where the matches are and we'll go from there. And it turned out he ended up in Florida, so that was a plus because he had good grades and had the Bright Futures to back that up. But if he'd had an offer, somewhere else out of state that he really wanted, we would have done it.
Okay, so let's talk about the visits. So I'm sure that, like you said, this was kind of like a roller coaster and a stressful decision. Talk to me a little bit about the visits. Do you feel that every coach was the same? Do you feel that every program was the same when you guys visited? AJ, why don't we start with you?
So with the visits, I only visited 3 schools. I went to a couple ID camps, which I didn't really tour it like I did with these 3 schools I'm referring to. But I would say every school has its own system that works for them. And so with one school, I went to an ID, and then I got to talk a lot with the coaches, the goalkeeper coach, and that was my lead school. Realistically, I was pretty sure I was going there. And then West Florida came in, and I went up to it, and they showed me around, and everything about the school really it was just for me. They had great strength and conditioning, they had great facilities, just everything was really for me. And then there was another school that was just like a backup plan, I would say. Which as soon as I visited, I knew it wasn't for me, but I knew they wanted me. So I felt that it was good that I visited. So I had a backup plan in case the other 2 fell through, in my opinion.
Okay. How do you guys feel about that? Did you feel that as a parent, I'm sure that you guys went to the visit, and did you feel that it was the same, that the coaches, because I feel like a lot of my parents say, well, if I don't have that feeling for the coach, I'm just afraid to make the mistake to make that decision. So how do you guys feel about parents?
Coaching for me was important because that's the person that's going to be working with your son day in, day out. And they're the ones that have the relationship. So you want a quality person, and you want somebody that has your son's or daughter's best interest at heart. So that part comes into play too. But ultimately, it was going to be his decision. There was a couple of schools that I really wanted him to look at, that I wanted AJ to look at, but after the visit, he said, absolutely not. The school's too small, or it's not a good fit for me. So, and there was some tension there because it was a really good offer. And I was pushing him to go that way. And he said, Dad, no, it's not a good fit. So
Love it. That's good. That's always good because, I always encourage our players to go for a visit first, because that's when you're really going to make the decision, right? Let's talk about the process with FKK, the staff, and the guidance that FKK kind of gave you through this process. How do you guys feel like it's been?
I'll go ahead and start. So AJ has been with FKK and the same coaches for many, many years. In fact, that's Tim Roberts. That's how he even became a goalkeeper, because he saw that skill set in AJ. And I remember at the meeting, we were like, wait, are you sure? And he gave us all the reasons why, and AJ tried it and it worked out. So I would just say that AJ grew up in the club. Ace and I both felt like we were able to communicate with the coaches really well. He had great teams, great coaches, great support from beginning to end. And I'm so happy that we didn't jump around to different clubs, and that we stayed consistent and stayed with the same individuals. And they took such great interest in AJ and always appreciated his work ethic. And they were reaching out, senior year, we were in lots of communication with them about, hey, we're talking behind the scenes. We want to get AJ in the right school. Here's what we're doing. And it was really, really nice. It was like, part of the family helping. So I have nothing but great things to say about it.
The coaches and the staff at FKK were fantastic.
That's good to know. That's good to hear. Let's see with the next question. How did you make the final decision, or then the specific school? What do you think make you make the final decision? AJ, let's start with you.
It really came down to just the distance I wanted to be away from home, and the program of soccer itself. And at West Florida, Ray Sandage was my coach, and his son was Ryan Sandage at the school I was going to. And so he wouldn't want me to go there to play with his son if he wanted his son to succeed. Like, he clearly thought it was a good fit for me. And then my dad and I went up and visited, and we got to talking with the coach. He showed us around, and it's a nice big campus, great athletics. We won the national title in football this past season, and we made a national playoff berth for the first time in a couple years. It was just all around, like, really good athletically, and that I love athletics, so it was just great. And then academically, it's a public school. So my bright futures really applied to it, and it really helped me out on the academic side and the financial side as well.
How about you guys? Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I took AJ up there. We left and went up and visited with the coach on a holiday weekend. Coach was phenomenal. He showed us around the campus. The school itself is very athletic oriented. They treat athletes very well. The focus is academics, but they have another, the back end of it is they focus on the athletes as well. There's a lot of good things, a lot of good programs for the athletes.
Their success on and off the field.
Okay, so let's move to the next question. Did you use any type of recruiting services away from the club? And if you did, how do you feel about that? You guys can intervene however you want to. I know we talked a little bit about it, but I would like to hear your opinion about that.
So one of AJ's teammates had their parent. I'd spoken to the parents, and they had recommended NCSA. And so we went ahead and we signed up with NCSA. There is benefit to it. The coaches at FKK did a phenomenal job in helping us out. The thing that I liked about using NCSA or the program was that it gave you the ability to do the research on the schools as far as how many students, what's the cost, are they looking for a goalkeeper,
Their position, the position available.
The availability. It gave you just a snapshot of the school, and that information was just a couple of clicks away. So that part of it made it very easy to research schools and find out information.
And it allowed you to match based on the major that you were interested in and being a goalkeeper, your age, everything else. So it gave you a nice updated list of the universities that matched. And it gave AJ a lot of exposure. So a lot of coaches were reaching out to him because they saw him and saw his age, saw his skill set, and also video footage. So ASA would send in video footage from AJ's games, and they would compile it and load it out on their site. And so in the end, it wasn't that relationship that resulted in AJ's final decision. But I do think there was some value in it, maybe more so because of his position as a goalkeeper, because that's a little bit more strategic in finding the right school and when you're going to be able to play based on the other goalkeepers on the team.
AJ, do you feel the same way?
So the whole thing for me with the app itself and communicating with coaches through it was sometimes when I would go to email them, it wouldn't go through, and then I'd try again, it wouldn't go through. So I had a couple of issues with the app, but seeing schools that are interested in you, at the end of it, I had over 100 schools, and that's good for your confidence as a player to see 100 schools would take you, are able to fit you into their program. And being able to get my footage from the ECNL footage, I sent it in and could cut clips in, or my dad recording games. They can put it on one and say if coach couldn't come out and see me play, I was able to send him that footage, which was very nice. But the communication with coaches through the app was a little iffy for me, but I would say the app itself is very helpful, and especially for field players. I'm a goalkeeper, like we've said many times. It's just saves. They need to be able to see long footage of a player making a run, making movement off the ball, calling for the ball, just stuff like that would be very helpful in my opinion for field players.
Yeah, that's good to know. Obviously nowadays, NCSA is something that I use in the recruiting college environment because it's very specific. It's a lot of database, and then you reach out to many, many, many coaches. But it was a question about that, and I think what the parents wanted to know is it worth it to make that investment? Is it worth it to make that investment in order for my daughter to make it?
I would say definitely yes.
Okay. That's a good question, right? Okay, so as a parent, I would like to give me a perspective of the difference between club, high school, and now college. I know that unfortunately AJ wasn't able to play this year due to an injury, but is it the same? Is the environment the same? What did you enjoy the most? I would like to hear your perspective as a parent.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, what is the same is that network, that kind of family. So that was really a great thing for a parent, and especially for the parents that are wondering about their child playing, because a lot of kids that AJ played with all through the years said, I'm not going to play in college. I don't want to. I'm tired. I want to focus on academics. I'm so grateful that AJ decided to play in college because it was such a good experience for us when we moved him in. And you're leaving your child, in this case, 6.5 hours away. It was like he had a family already. As soon as we moved him in, he had a barbecue that night. He had his physical the next day. They had workouts. They were doing everything together. And it just takes away that element of trying to get acclimated and make friends and get connected. You're already there. So that family aspect with soccer and probably with lots of sports was consistent throughout. So I really appreciated that. But the different part is, when they're younger and they're playing through school and club, you get to know all the parents and, you're very involved. You're going to a game down the street at Central Winds or Shane Kelly, or maybe traveling away for the weekend. This, again, he didn't get to play. We'll find out this next season, but I'm wondering, are we going to make the drive every single time? Probably to try to get that back, but that's all I have to share on that topic.
That's in a nutshell, definitely. The high school part of it was neat, to see that, and the pride that you get playing for your high school. You know,
Your boys.
you get to play with all your friends, and it's neat to see how, you know, you go from all the players that are playing on the club team to playing against each other in the high school environment. So that was kind of neat. But you know, college is it's definitely a different experience altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing, I said that was all I had to share, but actually one big difference is with AJ being with the same club and playing all through high school. I mean, he was kind of like a superstar. So everybody knew us like, oh, you're AJ's parents. And so he had proven himself and everybody recognized him as a good player and a hard worker and all of that. And of course, with college, I mean, you're kind of starting over and proving yourself. And so that's one difference. Harder on AJ probably than for us.
Of course. Yeah, I know that. You know, I think at a college that was a little bit different because you kind of watch from far, right? You know, the coaches now have their own environment, and it's a little difficult to accommodate the situation because now you have to answer to a coach, and he has to be with the team until the coach allowed them to go back and say hi to the parents or something like that. So that's neat. Well, the Michelsons join us, and I wanted to go over
Hey guys.
questions. I know you guys know each other. So this is Erin Michelson.
I know.
She played Division I college. Are you in your senior year, Erin? Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm going into my senior year now.
Yep. And Georgina Michelson, who works for the club and has been with our club for a long time. So we were going over the questions. Georgine, how do you think was the process with Erin? How do you feel that, was it stressful? Was it smooth? What's your opinion about that?
Very stressful. It was like a roller coaster ride, emotional roller coaster ride. And we were learning as we went, even though Hugh was there to help us along the way. You still don't know the process until you're in there and taking the tours. And then once you kind of did your second one, then you're like, okay, there's a pattern here. Tour the school, you know, get the sales pitch, look at all the locker room, the fields, the girls, the coaches, have lunch, and then kind of end it with, I would say, like a sales call almost. So at that point, it's almost like timeshare sales is what I always compared it to.
That's a good way to compare it. That's a good way to compare it. Do you think that the financial part to take big portion of your decision?
It was a what? It was the financial part of.
Yeah, like your financial part. Do you feel that was the most important part in your decision making?
Yeah, because we thought that after Colorado Boulder that we were going to get a good offer, and then we ended up touring Wilmington and then ECU
and Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, and those were like my last four, and then all of the offers that we got were just like flip-flopped, and it was out of nowhere, and we thought like we were going to get better offers from different schools, and then we got bad offers from the schools I thought I was going to go to. So it's
almost like it didn't turn out like how we thought it would, but in the end it's been fine and it's been great.
But it just, we had no idea that it was just crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think, what was what made you make your final decision, Erin? Do you feel that, was it the coach? Was it the program? Was it academics? Was it just fit? What do you think was what made you feel the final decision was, yes, this is the school that I'm going to go to?
Well, they had what I was looking for academically, and that was like the most important thing. And all of the schools that I had in my list, like the last four, had what I wanted to do, or like at least like in a range of what I wanted to do. And then it all kind of just the cards played out, and the whole thing with the financial situation happened, and I just happened to go to ECU other than Wilmington.
So we also made a big spreadsheet of all the schools academically, what she wanted to do occupational therapy. And so we did research of all the schools that had that or had a program that went into the master's with it. And ECU was one of them, but Erin had always said, oh, I don't want to go anywhere in North Carolina. So,
but that was just because
that was when she was younger. And
because we went to North Carolina. We always went to North Carolina. So I was like, I don't want to go to Florida. I want to go to North Carolina. And then I ended up going there. So that was just.
Yeah, because like we visited Middle Tennessee and they wanted her really bad, but they didn't have her major or anything close to it. So we're just that was silly.
When we toured there, I just didn't. Yeah. We just didn't like it. Like it. Yeah. Didn't feel right.
Let me ask you a question, the same question I asked AJ and AJ's parents. did you guys use any recruiting companies? Do you use any recruiting outside of the club?
I don't think so.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. And explain to me, or how do you feel? I know you guys know the entire stuff. I mean, Karen, I think I coached when you were 12 or 13, but you know the staff at FKK. What do you feel was their help, their guidance? Do you feel that it was?
Just the coaching in general and our practices. Like I do some of the drills that we used to do in college now. So like I feel like I'm already a step ahead, or like I'm comfortable doing the stuff like the passing drills and like all the stuff that I thought was annoying actually does help. It actually does help because I'm doing these drills now in college and I see like the freshmen come in and they don't know what they're doing, and I just know people like with Hugh and like with the right coaching, definitely more comfortable.
And I think the mental,
yeah, definitely. Hugh being hard on like everybody and club being so hard, it definitely prepared me for college, because if I didn't have Hugh yelling at me like that, then and I went to college, I would have been mind blown.
Yeah.
Georgine, how do you feel about that with the staff? I know that you're very close to our staff, but do you feel that we put a good product out there to kind of guide the parents to where the next step will be?
Yes, absolutely. I would feel like FKK is almost the expert at trying to guide the players and the families in the right direction, whether it's a D1, D2, D3, junior college. They really try and find that right fit for the player. And like sometimes it doesn't turn out. If you think you're going to go to a big school, or you think you're going to go to a small school, and it ends up being maybe a Division II, and so things change along the way. And I think they prepare you too for knowing when you get there that, hey, you may not play your position. Now, obviously, you guys are different with the goalkeeper,
yeah, they do a good job preparing.
But her position has changed over the years at college. It's a lot different than club.
And I was ready, but I was ready for something like I knew that something like that could happen, and something like that was probably going to happen in my 4 years. I mean,
that's good. That's good to know.
They give you the tools that you need to succeed. Like, I know they've been showing the kids how to write the letters, the emails to the coaches, and say, hey, I'm going to be at, Castle, and I'm playing at these games. And then when your schedule changes, you email them again, and then you follow up. And that's just good business practice, no matter what. I think it's just good hands-on tools for the kids to learn. And then it brings the parent and the player closer together, because it becomes a very stressful time, and you travel together, you look at these things, and it's a big life decision. So it's a big deal.
Okay, I'm going to put you in the spot, Georgine. I know AJ's parents already answered this, but what are the difference between club, high school, and now college as a parent perspective? Like, you used to carry your chair and go and watch Aaron play when she was club.
Right.
High school, you're like the known parent, and now you're in college. Can you explain that to me?
So high school is, to me, just pure social. I don't know, like it's
fun.
Yeah, it's just more just about the school and rah-rah, and I don't think it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, just kind of playing, see who's on the other team and your teammate, from club. It's just more fun that way.
Play against each other.
Yeah. And then club was actually the most serious, and
I had the most fun in club.
Yes. I think
that was definitely the best time that I have. Like, looking back on all my years, I miss those years when I was back in with my old friends and we were traveling and going to North Carolina. Like, that was definitely the best part.
Yeah.
College.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking of the club level. Like, as far as expenses, it was the most expensive, but the most joyful time, because you're just bonding with all the other parents. The training is the best there, actually, I think, at club level. I've had a lot of contact with a lot of our alumni that have gone on to play at colleges, and they all pretty much come back with the same thing. It's not that it's bad, it's just different. Mm-hmm. And the kids are on their own, so it's a different experience for them. You as a parent, you're separated from your child now, so you're learning to deal with that. So the good thing is that, they're growing up, they're getting independent. And the best thing about college is that they do stream it. So if you can't be there, you can watch it. So that's a big plus, but there's definitely a disconnect. Aaron went through a rough freshman year, and I think all of them do. And then they slowly rise to the occasion, hopefully, and hopefully they stay there. Aaron's
the freshman year is definitely the hardest.
She toughed it out and made it through, and now I think it's paying off for her. But I tell you, it was really tough the first couple of years, and the coaches, I think they try and weed you out as well.
I mean, everybody's situation is different, but yeah, I had a rough freshman. I had a rough few years, and I just kept going.
Yeah, it's just.
So are you, let's go back to AJ for a minute. Are you happy with the final decision? Are you guys happy as parents with the final decision?
I'd say I am happy, but sadly, with the whole injury, I really don't know what it's like to be a part of the team during the real season. Because say I didn't go in with a broken fibula, I felt like I would be able to compete in the starting lineup as a freshman, but I had the hurt leg, so this next season will tell if I was right or not, I guess.
Well, they'll give you like you're recovering now, so they'll give you everything that you need, and you'll actually probably recover faster, and they'll give you like all the tools, and whoever you need to go see, like they'll make sure you see them, and you'll go to recovery and treatment every day, and you'll still be with the whole team, like everybody's in the treatment room.
That's the most impressive
Everybody's
thing
in there.
I would say about college is the
No matter where you
accessibility
go.
to care for them, for the athletes, is unbelievable.
And like you're really not separate from the team. Like you're gonna do everything like that they do. You're gonna go to all the same places, wake up at the same time. You're gonna be at all the practices. You might not be in the practices, and that does suck. But like you're gonna be doing rehab on the side or something, and it's hard, but you'll be fine.
That was the story of my first semester.
Yeah.
Rehabbing and watching them play and be like, dang.
It was last year when it happened.
But are you all happy as a parents with the final decision that you have made?
Yes.
That's
Very
good.
happy.
That's good to
Yep.
know.
From the parent weekend and everything, we were really pleased with the school. Just their program, and AJ's doing really well academically too, and
You're important.
So Erin can speak to that because she was not a very good high school student. That's a big thing too. So
it does
a lot of her
matter.
teammates were getting, not offers earlier. Back then it was a little bit different, but they were getting looked at and recruited differently because of their grades. Erin had a poor GPA, and we had to wait a whole year to get it up.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge thing. And then coaches that were interested in were like, oh, it's too late, so it's just huge. Yeah. The freshman and sophomore year to make sure those grades are where they need to be, because
the thing I did like about the program at West Florida is that as a freshman coming in, you have to go to study hall.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that.
That's
too.
a great thing.
It's a
I
very
like it.
really good program for them to do that. And they've got tutors available, and they have the coaches checking up on them all the time, making sure that their GPA is where it needs to be so they can be eligible.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the whole academics and the coaching and the counselors and the advisors. They're tight with the kids, and they meet with them weekly. They help them. They give them all the tools they need.
Year.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like they're always looking out for them.
After a year, you get the hang of things, and it's fine. But they do. If I didn't have them guiding me, then I wouldn't know what to do. I probably would have had.
And they do make you take a big class load. I was quite surprised. I mean, 5 to 6 classes plus being an athlete, but they want you in and out in your 4 years, and it's a good thing though. In the end, they learn from it, and there's time management.
I know we talked about club for a long period of time, but I wanted to kind of ask you guys: do you feel the club was a good investment financially? Do you feel the club was a good investment to where you're finished today? Obviously now you are a college athlete, but obviously you've been paying, as a parent, you guys been paying a decent amount of money for them to now go to college. Do you feel that was a good investment? Georgine, let's start with you.
I feel like we broke even. It's like, I mean,
that's a good investment.
We all know that how much money it takes for college. I mean, for travel club soccer, and we always say, oh, they'll get a scholarship in the end. And yes, she got some scholarship, but just it still costs money. But I always look at it as long-term, the value of learning all this from sports and from, being a student.
SSP is a good example because I did that through the club, and then I still go to it now. And that's just something that keeps me. And so I think that's part of the club that I wouldn't know where else to go if I didn't have them either. And that helps me because that's what I do to get back in shape before I go back to school.
but definitely has, I think it'll balance out in the end, like when she tries to get a job, because I feel the investment of the sport and her as an individual has taught her, she knows how to organize, be on time, I mean, and work hard to, you know, what people are expecting from her. And so she'll know how to deal with managers and, you know, and fellow employees and things like that. So I do feel like in the end it's paid off for sure.
How about you guys? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I'd say that it prepares you. You're going to have to spend money in college too. So it kind of just transitioned from the club to the school. So it definitely was a good investment then.
I agree.
That's good to know. Well, the final question will be to kind of give us a tip, like as a parent, you know, there is preparing to their children to go through this roller coaster. What tips can you give them? What tips can you advise for them to kind of be prepared to this process? That some of them are starting, some of them are already starting, and they're not sure what to do. Let's start with AJ, and as a player, obviously, and a college athlete, and your parents after that to try to figure out what tips can you give us?
Just keep a good attitude throughout it all. Like I said, with the NCSA app, it builds your confidence to see all those schools that you're matching with. But then seeing an actual coach at your game that you emailed him, he's out there, like he's actually interested. It's just keep a positive mindset and say they aren't interested after watching you play. You still had a college coach come out and watch you, and you can always email another school to get them out there. Just like you got that school out there, you can get another just to watch you, and you can play. And the right coach will find you, and you just keep a positive mindset and work hard. That's it.
How about you guys as a parent?
I agree with what AJ just said. I think that for the kids that want to play in college, they need to let their coaches know, you know, at the club, and there will be a school. I mean, like AJ said, stay positive and don't give up. But I truly believe that there is a spot out there for those kids that want to play. There is a school. There are so many schools. I mean, once you start looking, it's mind-blowing how many there are. So I think there's a perfect fit for those that know that they want to do that. And the other thing is for the young kids coming into high school, like don't let those grades slip, because, and AJ alluded to this at senior night when he delivered his speech, like that GPA, I mean, you don't get to start over. So, you know, it's the accumulative GPA is important. So you've got to apply yourself from the very beginning. Otherwise, it's really hard to try to catch up.
I was hoping somebody would say that. I really was hoping that somebody would say that. Aaron?
It matters.
I think my biggest tip is like don't get discouraged. Like if you think you're falling behind someone or you're ahead of someone, like it's not about who gets to where first, it's what you feel comfortable with, because in the end, like you're living there and you're going to be by yourself, and you're going to
don't compare yourself to your teammates and who's committing and who's that was a big thing.
And like your environment. And that's like my biggest thing, because everybody can play soccer and everybody can push through, but it's if you're comfortable going home and you're comfortable doing it again and
waking up every day and doing it again.
So if you're in a good environment, then it's okay. But if you're not, then it makes it way harder. So that's my.
How about you, Georgine? Any tips?
Well, I have a tip because we have a 14-year-old that's coming up. I mean, she's an 05, so I'm living it right now. And
all over.
Yeah, she's in 8th grade. We've told her 100 million times, you've got to, you know, commit to it, because she's pretty lazy. And she I know you can hear us. So, I mean, she's going to start high school next year, and she doesn't realize like how hard, more strict they are there, and what it means for the grades. I mean, she's heard her sister go through it and us, and she saw lots of tears and ups and downs. And so I hope these kids realize like how much the grades are, and the academics really do matter to the coaches in college, because her coaches told me, because she's, you know, doing well, you know, it's really helped the team, their overall academic, and then, you know, maybe more money in the future for scholarship, you know, they'll do that for you. So it does pay off. They recognize that, and it's a big deal. So, and then you want to get your degree and you want to do well. So.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching us today. Kaden just shut the light for some reason. He's been trying to be in this video, and then he shut the light to me. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's always good to hear from parents, because Here comes the light again. I think it's important because you kind of see the perspective from the parent side, and sometimes that's a story that nobody hears. We did something similar with prior or former players, and it was very good. We got a lot of information about that. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing all your experiences, and we hope that this helps everybody. Thank you guys for watching us. Thank you for continuing to support our club, and then we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you very much.